You're listening to the Bodacious Women in Business podcast, the show that is geared towards high achievers and big dreamers who are making their way in the world and sharing their stories along the way. Bold, bodacious women sharing bold, bodacious insight. The guests you'll hear have different gifts, passions, and areas of expertise, and there's something to be learned in each conversation. Join Susan and her guest today. From S. Burns Legal, here's Susan Burns.
Welcome to Bodacious Women in Business, where we talk with executive women who contribute their special talent to the world, doing it their way. I'm Susan Burns, your podcast host and your on-call business lawyer and founder of the boutique law firm S. Burns Legal. We're located in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we support bodacious women in business. Today, we are talking with Erika Lyremark, none other than the Erika Lyremark, founder of BWIB and author of Think Like a Stripper. And I am very much looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Erika.
Hi, Susan.
You're cutting out, Erika. Say that again.
Oh, you know what? Let me open up this thing. Sorry. There we go. That usually helps. Oh, you know what else I can do? Let me turn off my Google.
Okay.
That'll help too. Sorry.
I'm still looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, me too. Okay, I'm ready. This should be better. Okay, what am I talking about here? What am I supposed to say?
Well, I just said welcome to the founder of BWIB, Erika Lyremark, and author of best-selling book, Think Like a Stripper.
Hi, Susan. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
Now that we have our technical issues taken care of.
Hopefully.
So, I know you, I've known you for many years, and I'm really thrilled to be talking with you in this capacity today. And I'm wondering, you've had many businesses and you are an inspiration to many women in business. Can you give us a little bit of background, Erika, about how you started in your current business and what your inspiration for that was?
Yeah, so I'll go back even a little bit further because it all ties back together. So, like yourself, I mean, you're from St. Paul. I'm from Minneapolis, grew up in the Minneapolis suburban area. And in the early 90s, was 19 years old and I moved out to Seattle. I had cousins who lived out here and I always loved it out here and I wanted to move out here ever since I was little. So, as soon as I turned 19, I moved on out here with some friends. And long story short, I ended up becoming a stripper. And I thought that I would do it for a couple of years. I was going through an apparel design program. And I thought that I would just do it for a couple of years. I would get my apparel design degree. And then I would, quit the stripping business and move into apparel design, which has really been my dream for many, many years. I learned to sew when I was in high school, and I made a lot of my own clothes, and I was constantly going to vintage stores and buying clothes and, remaking them and altering them, etc. I was very attracted to, I don't know, I guess it would be considered like alternative fashion in the 90s, with a mix of like high glamour and high fashion with like punk and goth, kind of like lots of things mixed together. And I just couldn't find clothes that I liked. And so I, started making them my own. And but then after I was done with my apparel design degree, I went through a period of extreme dissatisfaction with a romantic relationship in my life. And I started to just really question a lot of things and dig deeper. I started going to therapy and things like that. And I just started just questioning a lot of things and like, what was my purpose in life? And while I loved I loved apparel design and clothing. It really was my life for so many years. And that's really what I was known for in my, friend circle. And, but there's also this part of me that had always, stood up for his rights. And even when I was younger, in elementary school, there was no after school girls softball team. There was a boys baseball team, but girls were not allowed to join that. And I was really athletic and I was really good at sports, and it really pissed me off. And so I started to notice, how I was discriminated against being female. And I was introduced to some feminist literature in the mid 90s. And I thought, oh my God, I'm switching careers. I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to become a women's rights lawyer. But then when I went to school and I kind of like understood the basic arguments of feminism, and I just couldn't see myself working in law. I thought, I'm really, really creative, and I just don't know if this is the path for me. But I went ahead and I finished that degree, and I actually had an emphasis on China studies, and that's another story for another day. But once I was done with that, I was still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, because I didn't see myself working in apparel design. I might see myself become a lawyer. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And during this whole time, I was still struggling to, help put myself through college. There's many that I absolutely loved about stripping. It can be a really, really fun environment to work in. It can also be incredibly toxic. So it's definitely a love-hate relationship with that. And by the time I quit the stripping business, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was really, really struggling. This was in early 2000s, and this was before, there was no social media. I didn't really have a network. And all I really knew was how to get good grades in school and, how to give lap dances. That had really been my life for the last 10 years. So my dad, who is an incredible entrepreneur, gave me a job offer a couple years before that. He had purchased a large industrial warehouse building and basically made me and my siblings partners on it. And so that would be like our inheritance, was this building. And I remember the first time I saw it, I mean, it was so beat up. It was like broken windows. I mean, it was run down. It was like, when you think of like decrepit buildings, this was it. It was the bottom of the barrel. And so he asked me if I wanted to move back to Minneapolis and, work on this building with him and rehabbing this building. And there is definitely a part of me, I love a good makeover. So I was definitely intrigued.
Right up your alley,
right. So there was a part of me that was definitely intrigued by that, but I did not want to live in Minneapolis, and I didn't want to work for my dad. And because my starting pay was going to be so low, I couldn't afford my own place. So I would be living with my mother. I'm like, here I'm 30 years old, and this is not the life I envisioned for myself. But I didn't know what else to do. And so I was like, I'm so worried about staying in Seattle because I'm so afraid that I'm going to go back to stripping. And it's like, I'm done with school. I'm not going on. I'm not getting any further schooling. And so I have to make a decision. And so I took a huge leap of faith, and I told my dad yes. And within 3 weeks, I left, again, no plans on moving. And then also 3 weeks later, I'm gone. Wow. And so I ended up really liking the business. It was really fascinating, super interesting for the first few years. But then, one thing I've learned about myself is if I am not growing in my industry or evolving personally, I get bored very quickly. I'm very creative. I have a huge thirst for knowledge and learning things. And so I started to think, well, what else can I do? And, at this point, I'm in a serious relationship. I have a mortgage, I have a house, we have a dog together, and I get up and move like I did last time. I just have a lot more commitments now. And I, we started to really build an impressive portfolio at that time. But I really started to think about, what else could I do? And my boyfriend, now husband at the time, we had gone to Prague for a couple of weeks. And I thought, wow, I really, really love traveling. But I get bored traveling. I get tired of being a tourist. My favorite thing about traveling is living like a local, going to local grocery stores, using public transportation, just like checking everything out. And I thought, wow, it'd be so great to have a business where I could work and travel. And, this is 2004. And I don't think Skype existed back then. And it was a huge stretch of my imagination. I thought, how could I do this? I don't even know what I do, but I couldn't stop thinking about, I want a business where I could travel. So we went back home to Minneapolis and I just started thinking more deeply and more broadly. And, I said, I love a good makeover. I also really love working on projects. It's one of the things that I loved most at school. You work on a project, then it's done, and then you take a break. With sewing and designing clothes, it was always very project based. And so I thought, well, I would love to be some sort of a consultant, but I don't know what kind of a consultant that I could be. And I always loved helping my friends with decluttering and getting rid of things. And I don't know if you ever heard this story, Susan, but I remember it was the premiere of The Apprentice, the reality TV show with Donald Trump. And I decided to watch it because I really, really love business. I always have. And I remember the first episode, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to become like some sort of a coach and I'm going to help entrepreneurs kick ass because I've always succeeded in everything that I've done. And I can do this. Like this is what I want to do, but I also want to have a reality TV show like this. And so that was kind of the beginnings of it. So I went and got my professional coaching certification. And it just, over the years, it's actually took me 7 years to transition out of commercial real estate because I feel like my dreams were so big. They kind of hindered me a little bit. And there was so much to learn. And I was like, I have to learn about media and I need to get vocal training and I need to do this and I need to do that. And I need to learn improv. So I was just constantly expanding my capabilities and my talents. And eventually in 2011, I went full time in my business, and I'm still a partner in the commercial real estate company. I'm just more of like a silent partner, and that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
That's an amazing story so far. I I did not know that, and I'll save the political commentary, but I did not know that The Apprentice was your source of inspiration for becoming the fabulous coach that you have become. And it's more than coach, but that was what you were doing in the beginning. A couple of things I wanted to follow up on what you said. First of all, I would love to see before and after pictures of that building.
Oh, it's still industrial warehouse. It's nothing to get excited about. Trust me.
I thought you would have it in glitter by the time you were done.
Oh, I would love, and that's one of the reasons why I left, because the most exciting design decisions was like, what color of gray are we going to paint the warehouse walls? So it was fun. It was a lot of creative problem solving, but I was passionate about it because it was me and my dad, and that part was really fun. Like I really loved working with my dad, but just it was missing all of the glamour. And I was like, it's like we would get a building and it would be really exciting. And then once it was rehabbed and the spaces has been leased, I was ready for the next challenge. But, unfortunately, we didn't want to have to, constantly raise money to buy more buildings. We really just wanted to keep it small and family owned within the family. And so, we can only move so fast. And I said, Dad, give me $100 million. I need $100 million and 10 assistants and I can take over the world. And he's like, we just can't, we can't move that fast. So I wanted to keep seeing the same 2,000 square foot space that I had released, 3 years prior to that. So that was definitely a huge problem for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and another thing that you said, Erika, and you're a woman after my own heart there in constantly seeking, challenge and new things, which the law does for me. But one of the things that you talked about is taking 7 years to transition out of the commercial space because your idea was sort of vague. And I think that that's something that I find in a lot of successful women is there's this big notion of something bigger or something that we want to do. but it's not clearly defined. And we think of it as, well, I need to define more clearly. And the thing that I keep thinking of, if there was a way to understand what it meant at the time, but enjoying the journey, because that's the part of that vagueness is what helps you define in the end and what helps you become successful, but it's not such a comfortable moment.
Oh, it's horrible. And there's good and bad sides to that. I mean, if we're going to get, very specific with it, one of the things that it did for me is that I got really, really good at business in a way that I don't think that I would have if I hadn't had that additional 7 years of training. And that's really how I looked at it. So I learned so much about, bigger business. And it's definitely something that sets me apart from my competitors, because a lot of business coaches out there, they've really never run a business. They just like business. They've never actually run a business other than their business coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
So in that capacity, in that sense, it was a huge advantage for me.
It is. It gives you so much more insight. And what is it that you're currently doing? What's your current business?
So currently, I have an offer. I have an offer called BED, and that stands for bold, editorial, and decisive. And one of the things that I found over the years is that the more people can, simplify, streamline, cut the clutter, really drill down to your zone of genius, and then figure out how to expand that so you don't get bored. Because like my clients, I worked with a lot of service-based entrepreneurs. They quickly outgrow themselves. They get bored quickly. But if I can help them, find their lane, get into their lane, and stay there, but just expand that particular section of their lane, that is what is going to keep them satisfied and keep them, able to grow their business. Because I have a lot of clients who they start with one idea, they go down that, and then 6 months later, that was yesterday's news. So, their challenge is that they evolve so quickly that nothing ever gets any traction.
And so you're like me, you're focused, your market is women-owned businesses, women entrepreneurs in growth mode.
That's always been my market. Yes, mm-hmm. That's always been my market. Yeah.
And so your program helps them get out of that loop of, here's a new idea, and 6 months later, it's what's next. And can you be a little bit more specific about the program, BED?
Yeah. So the other thing about it is, one of the things that has really helped me is to understand how I think about things, why I think what I think, and really develop strong viewpoints on every aspect of my business, from, what goes great on a homepage, like what makes a great homepage on a website, to an about page, to how you are doing your marketing strategy, to how you're setting your visibility plan up for success. It's like really understanding every single aspect of your business and owning it and making it unique to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which you do so well.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things, because then everybody that comes in and works with me, they become really their own artist of their own business, their own creator of their business. And that is what is going to set them apart from anybody else, because every single person on the planet is 100% unique. Most people don't tap into that uniqueness.
Isn't that interesting that that's such a big component of success, when we've been so many of us for so long are trying to be like everybody else, or like how we think we're supposed to be, instead of being more of who we really are?
Yes, absolutely. And it's so fun to see my clients blossom into becoming more and more and more of themselves.
Is that, that's one of the benefits of the work you do. Are there any other benefits, like things that that you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. I never would have expected this in a million years when I started doing this? Are there any things like that for you?
Yeah, so it's, it's not just like, oh, I'm more organized now, I'm more efficient, et cetera. It's, like what we do a lot in bed is, it's a year-long mentorship program. So the curriculum, I mean, it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. So, but one of the things that we're working on now is I call it the 2 Bikini Visibility Plan. And it's a story from my book, Think Like a Stripper. And I'll tell you the quick story. And that is, I love shopping, I love clothes, but I also love minimalism. And I've been practicing, and I say practicing minimalism because it is an ongoing practice because I do love to shop since about 1995. And I noticed that one of my stripper friends, that she always just wore like the same outfits, and she like never fussed about it. And she always came into work, and she would make money. And a lot of women, including myself, would waste so much time in the dressing room changing outfits, changing our hair, changing our makeup, thinking it was really about that. And she suggested to me, like, hey, just pick your 2 favorite outfits and get rid of everything else. She's like, the customers they literally do not pay attention. Trust me. And so I thought, well, okay, I'm going to try that. And my 2 favorite outfits was like an orange neon bikini that I'd made, and a green neon bikini that I had made. And I loved it because I felt so cheesy. I loved being like a cheesy stripper. And I got rid of everything else. And she was absolutely right. And I had so much fun, and I didn't have to worry about, all of the costume changes. And I didn't have to worry about constantly spending money on costumes. And then I didn't have to worry about all the extra laundry. I would just go home and then throw my bikinis into the wash. And the next day I'd be ready for work again. And so I really believe that the same goes true about really about visibility. And, the marketplace has changed so much. I remember back in the day, you would just put a tweet on Twitter and you would get, hundreds, if not thousands of views on your website, on your blog, and you could throw $50 at a Facebook ad and make $1,000. And now the landscape has changed so much, and people are really, really scattered all over the place. And so what I help them now is find what I'm calling their 2 bikinis. And so like that's the 2 visibility methods that they love to do the most. That's going to get them the most attention and really help them grow their brand and their business. And, most of the stuff that we're working on is on TikTok, Instagram, really focused on doing videos. Not everybody is doing videos. Some women have podcasts. Women are still tried and true, like focused on doing their blogs. So it's really whatever they love to do the most, and then stylizing them so that, again, it's 1000% uniquely them. So a lot of what we're doing in bed these days is like, it's kind of like directing, like they're showing up with their project, and then I'm helping them make tweaks in the project and then directing it. So it's super, super fun and really creative.
That sounds great. I bet, well, just to be able to find that for, as an entrepreneur, I know that, when you can find that, that's something that really resonates with you, and to have a coach like you to be able to make it like really sing and make the most of it is so valuable and so exciting as you're growing a business and personally growing too. Because in my opinion, they go hand in hand. They both have to be successful.
Yes, absolutely.
So that must feel really good to watch that unfold, to support that.
Yeah, it's super, super fun.
So I don't know. I think you're the only woman I know, a woman business owner who comes from a stripping background. And so because this podcast is Bodacious Women in Business, I like to ask what makes women uniquely bodacious. Having the guts to strip and talk about it and make the things that you learn into success points, the things that you learned as a stripper into success points for your business and to help other women in business, I think is really bodacious and amazing. In your mind, Erika, what makes you uniquely bodacious?
Well, it's like the stripping, it's like, it's been 20 years since I quit. So it's been a long, long time. But luckily I wrote a book to remind myself what was happening at the strip club. Because I don't think I would have such a stellar memory of my experience there if I hadn't written the book and tried to really capture all of the most important lessons that I learned from stripping. So, I would say like that is, yes, that does make me unique in my industry. But that is not the only thing. That's kind of like, oh, that's a fun, neat fact. But I think what really separates me and what really makes me bodacious is just my love of art and my love of craft and my love of business. And that you can combine all of your creativity, all of your artistry, all of your ideas into, every single aspect of your business. And you can make it really fun. You can make it really exhilarating. And business doesn't have to be all these boring spreadsheets. And if spreadsheets are your thing, then it's something that I can help you make spreadsheets even more awesome and more amazing. So I feel like that's what really separates me from my competitors is like, I'm just so obsessed with creativity and making things and, really making your unique stamp on everything that you do.
Awesome. And you're right. I do remember the first time I ever heard you talk about business as a craft, and it just puts it in a whole new light. You really do have a unique gift, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I want to know where I think Like a Stripper I've read a few times, and I love the part about the book that it's in, like you can just pick up any chapter, and if it's something you need to learn about that day or remind yourself about, you can just, it's so easy to read. And it's a valuable business book. Where can people find that book?
So you can get it on Amazon, or you can, if you want to take a little bit more info on it, you can find it on my site at dailywhip.com.
And is that where people find you and how they would find out more information about BED? Is it dailywhip.com?
Yep. dailywhip.com. And I don't know when this is airing, but I'm relaunching the Daily Whip as a free coaching program where women can come in, and I'm really sharing a lot of the unconventional strategies and methodologies that I use to grow my businesses. So it is like a full-on program. So it's like, there's a full curriculum. Right now I have 12 months of curriculum planned. I don't know, if I will release new curriculum after the first year of doing this, but I'm really, really excited, and it's going to be so fun. And I'm so excited to share women beyond, having them read a book or having them listen to me on a podcast or read a blog, etc., to really show them the inside of my brain and all of my wild and wonderful ways to do business.
That's awesome. When is that launching?
So that is going to launch April 1st.
April 1st, 2022. Great.
Yes.
That's great. I'm actually going to put that in my next newsletter too, if you don't mind, dailywhip.com to sign up, right?
I don't mind at all. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So Erika Lyremark, dailywhip.com. Think Like a Stripper on Amazon.com. So thank you so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to talk with you, and thanks for bringing your bodacious gift to the world.
Thank you, Susan. This has been really fun.
Thanks.